Hi everyone, my name is Lauren Gonzalez-Perez and I'm excited to present my Lumiere research on post-deportation housing insecurity in Guatemala, conducted under the mentorship of Adila Mehimbin. My study examines how deportation from the U.S. affects housing access for Guatemalan returnees, analyzed through structural vulnerability theory. Forced deportation has become a structural engine of inequality in Central America, particularly in Guatemala. Between 2020 and 2024, over 250,000 Guatemalans were deported, many returning without savings, documents, or employment. Housing insecurity emerges as the most immediate challenge, with less than 15% securing planned accommodation. Reintegration programs are fragmented and under-researched and resourced. We're offering temporary relief but no long term solutions. This context motivated my research. Guatemala already faces a severe housing shortage, with about 1.8 million units lacking. Returnees often face stigma as failed migrants, limiting access to employment and housing. Women and indigenous deportees face compounded barriers, including patriarchal property laws and linguistic obstacles. Understanding these systematic challenges is crucial because they reveal how deportation reproduces social and economic vulnerability. My central research question asks, how do structural vulnerabilities shape housing insecurity among Guatemalan deportees during their first year after return? I explored this through the lens of structural vulnerability theory, which emphasizes how social, economic, and institutional systems collectively produce vulnerability. I conducted a qualitative systematic literature review examining academic research, NGO reports, and policy documents. I quoted findings around 9 dimensions of vulnerability, including structural barriers, governance fragmentation, and social stigma. To strengthen validity, I triangulated qualitative findings with quantitative data, such as deportation statistics from the IOM and government records, providing a comprehensive view of systematic housing insecurity. The findings show that more than 60% of returnees experience acute housing insecurity. Fragmented governance and clientelism limit effective reintegration. Returnees are further impacted by overlapping crises like COVID-19, hurricanes Eta and Lota, and drought cycles, while U.S. migration enforcement and remittance dependency exacerbate the challenges. These results highlight how economic, social, institutional, and transnational factors interact to produce compounded vulnerability. Housing insecurity is not just a lack of shelter, it's the product of interlocking structural, social, and institutional inequalities. Women and indigenous returnees face additional barriers due to patriarchal norms and linguistic exclusion. Overlapping crises create feedback loops where environmental shocks and economic precarity reinforce cycles of displacement, showing that vulnerability is cumulative and systematic rather than individual. In conclusion, housing insecurity for deported Guatemalans is a structural outcome, not an individual failing. Temporary aid, such as emergency shelters, does not address systematic inequalities. Effective reintegration requires coordinated rights-based policies that integrate housing, social services, and long-term economic support. Future research should include longitudinal studies to understand chronic vulnerability, intersectional analysis to capture experiences of marginalized groups, and evaluation of holistic reintegration strategies that combine housing, mental health support, and sustainable employment opportunities. Some of key sources guiding this research include the International Organization of Migration, or IOM, UN Habitat, Carballo and Menjivar Casada, Hart and Borgoa, and Human Rights Watch. A full reference list is available in the written paper. Finally, I want to thank my mentor, Adila Mehimbin, for her guidance, as well as Kaber Hirandani and the Lumiere education team for their academic and editorial support. Thank you all for your time and attention.